Live from 2 News. This is Talkin Real, powered by Strong Auto Group.
Good evening. Welcome in to Talkin Real. Tonight, big headlines today, Dunny.
Huge headlines.
RSL's year of change continues. The club's leading scorer, Sabo, is following Nat Borchers, Chris Winger, Robbie Finley, and Ned Grabavoy out of town. The club has traded Sabo to DC United. In exchange, DC United will send Luis Silva to RSL, which is good news because, number one, he went to UC Santa Barbara, and number two, he scored 11 goals for DC United last year. This year he's battled several injuries, limited his playing time. This trade should add a little spice to that August 1st game, RSL playing DC United in RFK Stadium. So where will Silva play? Jeff Cassar says, well, pretty much anywhere except goalkeeper.
He can find his way on the score sheet, whether it's through goals or assist. But if you look at his career playing, even through college, he's been very versatile. I spoke to him on the phone today, and I said, you know, I scouted you in college, and you were a defensive midfielder, and a center back, and a forward, and an attacking midfielder, all within the same year in Santa Barbara. So he's a very good soccer player on both sides of the ball, and I think it's going to be a very nice addition to our team.
I took it a little hard because he's been a mentor to me. You know, through my ups and downs throughout my years here. I came into the league with him, and he's always been there for me. You know, he's one of the few guys that always, you know, try to be positive with me on my down days, you know, and help me on my up days. So it's, I took it a little hard, but I mean, you know, it's part of the game. You know, friends come and go, teammates come and go, but you make new friends along the way.
I have a long-term plan, and in the planning with the coaching staff, we need to make some moves, and obviously it's been a little bit frustrating this year for a lot of reasons. Lack of selection, injuries, things like that, and you know, it just came a time where, as I looked down the road for this organization, it was the right time to start considering moving Sabo. And in the last weeks, things started to kind of make sense. I would have had no problem, obviously, having him here throughout the end of the year, but this made the most sense not only for the club moving forward and planning, but you know, with regards to Sabo's individual career, it gives him a great opportunity to go to another club and get a few more years.
Sabo scored a lot of big goals in big matches. He's also 33. This is a club that is also committed to getting younger, starting a youth movement here.
Yeah.
So when you heard that, you kind of knew this might happen.
Yeah.
You've referenced that this is a possibility. What's the best part about this trade for RSL?
Well, first off, let's pay a little bit of homage to
the club's leading scorer.
Yeah, 79 goals in 142 starts in all competitions. That's pretty staggering, and for a long time, Sabo spearheaded this attack the right way. Listen, at the end of the day, when you make personal decisions that affect the team, you're going to be held accountable. And with the way this change is starting to happen, if you look back, starting with Will Johnson, Jamison Olave, Fabiano Spindola, to now this year, Nat Borchers, Ned Grabavoy, Chris Winger, Robbie Finley, when you have those type of established veterans, you have a buffer in the locker room. But when you have big personalities and they make personal decisions that affects the outcome of the team as a unit, there's going to be decisions made. And if this team's in first place, maybe we're not seeing this type of trade. But the bottom line is they're getting a huge return on Saborio, and Luis Silva can and will be a very important piece of the puzzle the moment he gets 100% healthy. We
just heard Jeff Cassar say he can play a lot of positions. Do you see him ultimately being an attacking midfielder for RSL?
This is where I see him. Luis Silva can play off the shoulder of a striker. He can play in wide positions on other side with he wants to tuck in and invert. He can also be like for Javier Morales. Now also take one step back. He is ineligible for U.S. Open Cup play, but that means he's 100% eligible for CONCACAF Champions League. Now you think about the balance, that's going to take some weary legs off the road for Jeff Cassar and allow this group to focus on ultimately having two sets of playmakers, because we're always talking about this team leans on Javier Morales so much for so many minutes. Silva, when healthy, can replicate Javier Morales positionally, maybe not performance-wise, but positionally.
You would never guarantee a move like this. You always thought there was a high probability that something like this could happen, but you weren't sure.
Yeah.
You weren't sure, but you thought the door was open. Now, they saved about $300 grand here.
Yeah.
It's a salary cap league. That's a big factor. Both players are out of contract at the end of the season, but they saved $300 grand. The window's still open. Do you expect another move? Do you think there's a high probability?
You see this eyebrow? The eyebrow's going up for a reason.
Yeah.
What I think this really becomes is the first domino to fall. Because what you have done is you've taken $300,000 off the salary cap. You're mid-season, so think about designated players only cost half as much right now. You've got the TAM, the targeted allocation money mechanism that just came into effect. For those out there, think that's how Giovanni Dos Santos ended up at the LA Galaxy. Omar Gonzalez comes off the cap at DP. You could do a similar situation with Kyle Beckerman, basically buy him down, get him underneath the threshold, as long as you bring in a player that costs more than what Kyle Beckerman's making. Also keep in mind, Sebastian Jaime comes off the DP list next year. It's a big opportunity for Real Salt Lake to spend wisely and continue to add some important pieces of the puzzle.
Now, today, Craig Weibel didn't want to get into it, but when I asked him about getting younger, he says, obviously, we're not going to get older than 33, but we've seen teams in MLS who have added players over the age of 33. Well, they expect a payoff with those guys right now. Is RSL now in a place where maybe that kind of move makes sense, even though they've been getting younger?
I would say this is kind of a hybrid situation right now, and it's not a volatile situation by any means, but you have this hybrid situation where you can go the DC United route and go for the established veteran players. I mean, that's what DC's doing, bringing in Sabo, putting him alongside Fabian, Davy Arnaud in the midfield. But I think this opportunity frees up a team that is really pushed against the cap, where expectations this year was for MLS to raise the salary cap. When that didn't happen, it wasn't the CBA and the players that gets hosed at the end of the day. It was actually the general managers and the technical directors. So this is a great move, and I'll tell you why. Sabo for this club was fantastic. But moving forward, Sabo was out of contract at the end of the year. You are getting something in return. Now, it's important that you're able to sign Luis Silva long term. He's still 26 years old, and I know he's been bit by injuries, but 11 goals last year is a huge number in Major League Soccer to have in your team. But now you start also thinking about center backs, midfielders, forwards, and the good news for Silva is that he can play anywhere on that three, and he can also play in Javier Morales pulling the strings.
All right.
And
now,
I was going to say, the big thing also for me is when you take a look, and I'd like to take a look at a breakdown of a play from Luis Silva. As you come over and you take a look at one of the goals that he scored last season for DC United, and it's really all about the movement inside the box and the way he kind of goes in and finds himself. Now, he's playing off the shoulder of Fabian Espindola, and as the ball's out wide on this right-hand side, watch how slowly he kind of trickles in at the top of the box. I want you to keep an eye. Here's Fabian Espindola right here. And this is where Silva goes. And just watch the way he floats inside. And as he gets to the end of this ball, watch how quickly he turns, fires, first time, far post side net. Again, just 26 years of age, 11 goals and an assist last season for DC United. And if healthy, look for him to produce in a very similar situation for Real Salt Lake.
All right. Just don't look for him to produce this weekend as RSL hosts Houston. Coming back from a groin injury, Jeff Cassar said he's about 85%. So he's probably doubtful for this weekend, but maybe in another week we'll see him. The question now for RSL as a team is, can they translate the momentum from another U.S. Open Cup win into MLS play? RSL hosting the LA Galaxy Tuesday, winner advancing to the semifinals of the U.S. Open Cup. And RSL, some chances early, 7th minute. João Plata knifing through the defense to Sebastian Jaime for the game's first chance.
Well, and this is what we've been looking for, especially in this type of formation. Early turn, touch, gets away from AJ De La Garza. Perfectly weighted ball. Sebastian Jaime gets his clean touch, and that is a huge save from Rowe as he pushes out to the right-hand side.
RSL continues to attack. 21st minute, Javier Morales finds Plata, who has a great look.
Well, again, João Plata, extremely dangerous, especially when he inverts his run, becomes that secondary runner off the shoulder of Sebastian Jaime. And again, when RSL has been successful at being dangerous in the final third, it's those interchanging runs at the top of the 18-yard box.
29th minute, RSL defending. Juninho. And oh, big save, Jeff Attinella.
Well, Aguagato had to come up with a few saves in this match, and Juninho pops up in a dangerous spot, gets a touch on frame. And Attinella up to the challenge on his left-hand side.
54th minute. Steven Gerrard one-on-one with Attinella, and he comes up with a big save.
Well, a great opportunity for Attinella to stonewall Steven Gerrard in his first appearance at Rio Tinto Stadium for the LA Galaxy.
Still scoreless. 87th minute, Luke Mulholland finds Aaron Mon.
It's a perfectly weighted ball from Luke Mulholland. Aaron Mon stays up as the play recycles down the right-hand side, rises up like a salmon, snap-down header, near post, side net. Absolutely nothing the goalkeeper can do about it, and a great goal taken by Aaron Mon.
And it's the game winner. RSL wins 1-0. They'll play the winner of the Houston Dynamo Sporting Kansas City game in the semifinals. Those two teams play Tuesday in Kansas City. The winner will host RSL August 11th. Aaron Mon's goal sends RSL through to the semifinals. When that ball is floating, I mean, it's getting late. And it's looking like 30 more minutes. In your congested schedule, you don't need 30 more minutes.
Right.
Was that thing in the air forever before it got to you?
Yeah, you know, Luke put in a great ball, and, you know, I was just able to get onto it. It was, we definitely didn't want to go into overtime against a team like that, so, you know, we're just happy to get the goal in late there, for sure.
Now, you know, obviously you're not in a position where you're going to score a lot of goals. You're going to have chances on set pieces. Did you have something planned? Did you not do it? Did you wish you had something planned? The whole celebration is so important.
Well, you know, I've had a couple things planned over the years. It's been a long time since the last time I scored, you know, but I think I just kind of blacked out. Did whatever came natural, you know, so. I don't know if it was the best celebration, but I was super excited.
Okay.
For sure.
So, you, with the game-winning goal, or Jeff stoning Steven Gerrard one-on-one, who was happier in the locker room after that win?
I think, you know, we were all just happy. I was pretty happy that Jeff made that save because I think I was at fault on that potential Steven Gerrard goal, but you know, we were just pumped. You know, it was such a big game for us. We set it up big for in our own eyes. You know, we just really wanted to prove to ourselves that you know, that we would go in there and win that game.
So the question here is, why is Aaron Mon so much better this year than he was a year ago? Why do we see this improvement? What's happened?
Consistent run of games. I mean, listen, any young player, and I'm not sure if Aaron Mon's still considered a young player. He's probably a veteran at this point in his career, but he hasn't had a run of games and consistency. And that's what any player needs. It's not just a fitness thing, it's a psychological thing. And this year, again, Aaron Mon was the #4 choice center back on this team. Hamilton Olave, Chris Schuler, Elias Vasquez, then Aaron Mon. And you think about the amount of players that have come in, come out. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about a #4 starting center back alongside a #6 starting center back. So I think it speaks volumes of Aaron as a person, as a professional, and then from a confidence perspective, what he's been able to put together this season. Because I think a lot of people pushed him to the side and didn't think he had a future with this club, and he's been fantastic in his opportunities this year.
And they really needed him with all the injuries and suspensions. I mean, he's had to come up big, and he has. All right, 4 guys still gone at the Gold Cup. Vasquez will be back. His club was eliminated. Of course, there's still injuries, and of course, there's another suspension. Sebastian Jaime with the red card. Actually 2, because Jeff Cassar got a red card sometime after the final whistle in Colorado, before the team left the field. We're not exactly clear.
Daryl Shore's next man up.
Daryl Shore, next man up. He will be, you'll see him stand along the sideline yelling directions out at the club. So let's take a look at the lineups, given the fact that there are obviously some limitations.
Well, when you're looking at the Houston Dynamo, the big thing to remember is that at this left back, it's going to probably be Kofi Sarkodie. The big news this week, DeMarcus Beasley called in by Jurgen Klinsmann to the U.S. men's national team. But the surprising news is after that announcement, they traded Corey Ash to Orlando City for allocation money. So Sarkodie's going to go on one side. I think Raul Rodriguez is going to come over on the right. The question is, does A.J. Cochran get the start? Former RSL man David Horst is the center back. Nathan Sturgis, another player that used to ply his trade for Real Salt Lake back in the Rice Eccles days, will play alongside this man, Ricardo Clark. Brad Davis will pull the strings. Look for him to float on other side. And then Will Bruin, the dancing bear. This guy, 11 goals last season. He's got 8 goals and an assist this season. How do they deal with him defensively? Now for Real Salt Lake, a different look at times. Abdoulaye Mansali comes back in. Schuler, he was fantastic on the road in Colorado, also against the LA Galaxy alongside Aaron Mon. I like Jordan Allen. Let's see what Jordan Allen's going to do on that right-hand side with Luke Mulholland kind of sitting underneath Javier Morales. The big news, though, is I think that man, Devin Sandoval, is going to come back in to the starting 11. Keep in mind, Sebastian Jaime is unavailable for that red card slap to the face of Drew Moore.
Time for the Masters electrical keys to the game.
Well, where's Will Bruin? He's known as the Dancing Bear in Major League Soccer. Last season, 11 goals and an assist. This year, already 8 goals and 1 assist. Size, strength, speed, he is a full package. You got to press high when you're talking about Houston. They've got heat and humidity. We've got altitude. So see if you can force some mistakes across an unfamiliar back line. And most importantly, heavy legs, smart decisions. This is an RSL team. No rest for the weary. Midweek match against the LA Galaxy. It was emotional. It was physical. Now you got to transition once again, switch your focus, and get full 3 points at home in Major League Soccer.
Remember, you can see RSL and the Dynamo Saturday night. Our coverage from Rio Tinto Stadium starts at 7:30 right here on KMYU. Remember to follow Dunny and I on social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter at David DJ James. Dunny's on Twitter and Instagram at Brian Dunseth. And just to make it complicated, Facebook at Brian Dunseth 1. Dave Fox is back with British Open highlights next. Stay with us.